Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm joined today with Designer Keenser, and we'll be talking about a feature that was lost last week, which is none other than Armadas.
It's nice to be back with all of you, and I'm eager to talk about the new feature.
So Armada was launched after about a year of being announced, but leading up to it, what was your role into building this feature?
Sure. Well, I guess if you go all the way back to the beginning, my initial role was writing a document that, a spec from a designer point of view of like how this feature should work. And then writing another one, and then writing another one. A lot of big features like this go through a lot of iteration. First, the kind of spec phase when a proposal is written. Then lots of people get together, both from an engineering point of view, an art point of view, a UI, UX point of view, all the rest of the design team, and we get together and we discuss it for a very long time, or at least it feels that way sometimes. And we iterate on different versions. There have been at least a couple of different versions of Armadas that we prototyped in terms of a very simplistic high-level UI point of view, and then the tech team gets involved and we learn more about what's easy and what's hard and what works within the existing systems, and then we take that down and tear it all apart again. So I've been involved pretty much from the beginning. There are a lot of different designers on the team, and there have been many more designers than just me involved in making it happen and come into existence. So I was there on the ground, and then there have been a number of designers who have carried that torch forward since then.
Got it. But why did it take initially so long to build?
Yeah, tell me about it. There are a lot of factors that lead into how long it took to build. One of which, a lot of them are just technical, right? And a lot of them, when doing a big new feature like this, it's very iterative to us. So work has been going on for many, many months, right? First from a kind of very high level spec point of view, like I said, and then drilling down all the details and all the numbers. That gets done, and then we start to build it. There was one earlier version that we attempted to build, and that was kind of aborted, canceled, and we took a step back and realized what would work better and what could work in the engine and perform very well. And so that more or less the second version becomes the version that you now know and play. And yeah, it's really just about iteration time, right? We've been doing some internal testing on it for at least a couple months. And then we started bringing in some play testers to our office to play through it. And in every one of those experiences, we ran into issues that we wanted to solve. So a lot of it was just kind of different smaller UI elements about clear communication to our players. And all those experiences kind of slowly drew the feature out as we said, okay, it's not, perfect is a hard thing to say, but it's not good enough. So we were continuing to iterate on it, go back and make it better before we wanted all of our players to get a chance at it.
Got it.
That isn't to say that it's perfect now, and there will always be tuning and adjustments we want to do once a feature is live. Within reason, right? All of you that are playing a feature now, we don't want to change it on you or make you feel like you got one version of a feature and then we somehow made it worse. But we do look forward to continuing to improve the player experience in small ways to make it better.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I enjoyed a lot about Armadas is it really brought the pure MMO feature towards the game, especially from like an alliance point of view. Like you have to work with your alliance in order to do some stuff. So, what is your favorite feature like coming into Armadas?
Yeah, I mean, we just wanted an experience you could share, right? Obviously, that it's not, you can make attacks on a target kind of one after another in series, but this is always the one that is like a little bit like a MMO party, right? Or a group, in your classic kind of PC-based MMO. You're going to get your friends together and work together and have a cooperative, goal and a cooperative reward, right? That all of you come home with. And part of that is just we want people to feel like they have friends online, and this just leans into that moment. We all like playing with, our alliance and maybe even specific members of our alliance, and so all that just becomes part of making a good community for our online players and giving activities that all of you can do in that community.
What's interesting now that I'm seeing is that a lot of the alliances, how they're going to be coping with a new feature of something like Armadas, because it's essentially like a world boss, yet there's a very selective process at who can go and who can participate. So what is your opinions?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly seen in my own alliance that there are times where there's more communication required and someone's very upset when their place gets taken and things like that. We tried to make it as simple as we could is the honest answer, right? That we have a starting assumption that the guy who calls the Armada would rather have the strongest ships possible in addition to his own. And so that's the default mechanism we have in the game. Obviously, we're looking at the feedback. we considered doing various kind of reservation systems or first to join gets in, but then the UI gets a lot more complicated. The leader then has to go, okay, you joined, but I don't want you, and now I have to remember that I don't want you, and you can't join, and there's a little bit of a, I don't know, something of a bad karma there. We experimented with different systems, at least on paper in the kind of UI sense, and none of them really worked for us in terms of presenting an easy to understand UI that we were a fan of. That was simple enough that, you know, a casual player just wanting to go, I want to hit this target, it's open whoever. And in the kind of more casual alliances, that hasn't seemed to be a problem from what I've seen. In the most aggressive high level alliances, then they're like, you get to come, you don't get to come. Or perhaps the alliance leader wants the lowest level people to come so that he can maximize his personal reward on it. All that's kind of, we're leaving that up to the world to figure out, letting players communicate and figure it out, because an alliance leader can tell people not to show up, and if they keep showing up, he can, you know, complain to the guild leader that, you know, let them sort this out socially.
Yeah, I guess it's less putting it on the alliance leader in this case and more putting it on the alliance themselves, kind of sort of between them. So it makes sense. It's the different points of view in that front.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that this is the perfect answer, and you know, if we come up with a better solution or we figure out a solution where we want to go with a more reservation solution, it's not that we're militantly against it. It's just we're trying to balance the different interests of making something that's simple to execute.
Got it. And kind of piggybacking on that, why was there only 5/6 players allowed as a maximum for this?
Well, you know, some of it's up to game balance, right? We have to guess on how many people are going to show up. So if I make, or if we design, you know, it allows 10 targets, 12 targets, 15 targets, you know, 50 targets, right? That's a very, very different experience. And it's not to say we won't allow something like that against a kind of different target someday. But we were looking to create a more group-based experience, not like a raid-based experience from your classic game. If I allow that number, I have to make the targets difficult for that number, right? So if you can let 20 people show up for hitting this, you know, PvE, you know, target, then, you know, you have to balance for that, right? And right now we're balancing for a smaller group size with the hope that there's just a lot more of them going on, that, you know, we want to make it fairly easy for you to get the directives and to find the targets. And then rather than having everyone showing up for one, we want a lot of this thing going on.
Do you think there could be room in the future to kind of build it for more?
Sure, of course.
Okay,
I mean, we look at how the feature does.
Yeah.
We look at what kind of things the players are attracted to, what they want to do next, and what we want to do next as we're playing it too. So there are no final answers. It's a game that we want to go on and continue to evolve. So that means that, you know, what V2, V3 of that is in the coming months and even honestly years of the game. We'll continue to evolve it and grow the feature out. The more they keep using it, the more they keep enjoying it, the more likely we are to continue building on it.
Yeah, I see the same. It's like most of the features that we build anyway, especially for Armadas being something so big. And so like on that, since we already have 2 types of hostiles right now, is there any possibility for like more stronger hostiles to kind of show up at some point?
Yes, there is. I mean, some people can look at their item inventory now and get a big clue about that.
Okay. It's a little Easter egg right here. So, kind of one question that a lot of the players were asking was, why does it take 15 minutes? Because usually P-Shield is at 10 minutes, so we have like kind of barrier there, but Armadas at 15. Yeah,
Armadas are 15. A lot of it was about flying time. You know, Armadas can be anywhere formed, and we wanted to make sure the players, like, on the wrong side of the galaxy have a chance to get there. So part of it is that game balance. And that's one part of it. And the other part is we want this Armada feature to be kind of cohesive with future extensions that are logical, that you can predict. And that was, an Armada attack is going to be a big deal regardless of what the source is. And we wanted a bit more time for a player that was interacting with an Armada, no matter how they're interacting with it, to have the time to respond and prepare.
Okay.
So go home, repair, get it there in time was a loop that we were considering as we built that kind of timer.
Okay. Because like an idea that was kind of put in place was once you're in the Armada starts, and then let's say your Armada gets destroyed, immediately the rest of your lines kind of come in and you continue the fight. You don't have to wait 15 minutes again and again.
Oh, sure. But part of that is balancing like some Armada targets, you know, now and in the future may be a bit more competitive. Okay. So like you attack it, but you may not kill it on the first try, and then in another alliance, maybe trying to compete with you. And if you're able to launch your Armadas in series every minute, every second, or whatever, You may have to fly them back there if your ships are destroyed. Another alliance part of the gameplay is like, oh, they've got an alliance armada queued right after us.
Yeah.
That's part of the gameplay quite intended, so that you can choose, you're gonna convince yourself that you're gonna win this, or perhaps you want to bring even more ships to push them out of their armada alliance. These kind of hostilities happen.
Yeah. And I was expecting that, to be honest, when an armada starts and you have like the rest of the alliance kind of bordering up like a wall.
Yeah.
Like, don't come here, and it's like the protection against what's going on. So
Exactly. And that's definitely part of what we intended, right? That so if you want your ships that are going to fight, you don't want to get them hurt or damaged or much less destroyed. So you need to kind of protect them. People can bring in more than one ship into the circle in case their first ship gets destroyed, and that's true for the armada lead as well. Perhaps even more necessarily true. But I've definitely seen sniping happening in my alliance, where they see someone going after a target, they nail the leader, and of course that cancels the armada.
Yeah, I've seen a few with myself.
Some people are very well intended in the galaxy, and you should know, if you don't already, that some people are not.
I've had a few myself. We had an actual all-out war with my alliance. I wasn't strong enough like the rest of them, but like they're like, panic, go there. I'm like, yes sir.
Yeah, going
just
there.
flying all over.
Yeah, I mean I like the emergent gameplay that's been happening there, and I hope it continues. Right, it just makes the game more fun. It makes alliances interact more, and it's just fun to be a part of.
Yeah. And like one of the things that I'd love to see, and we've talked about it before, is like more in the alliance management system. So like having the alliance have more stuff to give, like an alliance, the leader giving more power, etc.
Yeah, I mean that is something we are in the first stages of working on now, is a kind of diplomacy system.
Yeah.
And that will grow, right?
Yeah, perfect. And my last question is PvP.
Yes.
So we know it's something that players have been waiting. Why didn't it go on release?
Yeah, I mean, from our Discord chats, I'm not likely to give out an exact date for you, but it is a logical extension of the feature. The feature was built in mind that it could be used for different kinds of targets, obviously both hostiles in the universe of various strengths, and ultimately player stations. And that will be a big deal, right? Combining multiple ship strength for one attack on a station. It's part of the reason for the timer. And that we wanted it to be consistent, but you can predict that that's coming. Yeah, very much coming.
So it's a feature that will essentially be there at some point. Just balancing issues, I assume. And
we want to be careful to launch it right, and we want to, we've hinted about it before, but
Do you see Armadas kind of growing into something more than what it is today, as in just PvE hostile and then just PvP?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, it's a big feature for us. We've invested a lot of time in it. We're not saying we got it perfect in every way in the first release to our players, but we want to take an iterative approach, and we want to take a big approach to it too, right? We're going to add big parts of it, one of them we just talked about, but then we want to, evolve the feature, right, in different ways. So yeah, there's the notion, of perhaps larger target pools to go after, and there are a lot of things we have in the future for Armadas, mixing in with other kind of features, the way it can interact and change the face of the galaxy map. So.
Yeah. No, I also expect it to be something huge. I kind of see it like in the World of Warcraft scene, where we have like instances and then the raids, and then this grow into world bosses. So it's kind of the same progression in every kind of MMO.
Yeah, I mean, we want the game to feel like it's a living, dynamic, well, not world, but galaxy, and this is just the first stage of that.
Yeah. And well, thank you so much for joining us today, Designer Keenser. Like we talked a little bit about Armadas, a lot of your questions that you had. During the next few weeks, maybe towards the end of the month or next month, we'll have another Q&A on Discord with you guys as after you've kind of gone into Armada, seen how it works. So any questions that you will have, we'll be asking them out, and we'll be hopefully answering them in any possible way that we can.